Today on Locked On Rockies, ESPN puts out their top 100 players in baseball. Not a single member of the Colorado Rockies makes the list, and that smells fishy to me.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 23rd day of March in the year 2023. I am your host and Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, guess what? You are in luck, because that's what we do around here, is we talk about the Colorado Rockies each and every day, bringing you all sorts of great analysis about the Purple Pinstripes. If you like what you see, if you want to be part of the show, if you want to hang out with us, follow along on your favorite streaming service, join the live chat, join the show, and subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube and be part of the show, be part of the fun. Today's episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Folks, today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, we are talking about ESPN's top 100 players in baseball list, and it's a pretty good list. But as I was scrolling down and as I went through the names of 100 players, want to know what I noticed? No Rockies. Not a single member of the Colorado Rockies can be found in the top 100 players in baseball. And I wanted to say first, okay, let me break it down. Let me make sure, let me see. And then you look at some of the names. And you read some of the descriptions of some of these things, and it's once again a complete neglect of the Rockies. And that's either because the experts, the people that cover the game, that follow the game more than myself, are so low on the Colorado Rockies, that have absolutely no faith, zip, zilch, nada, not a drop of faith in any aspect of the Colorado Rockies. Okay, the Rockies have earned it. The Rockies haven't been great. The Rockies have made questionable moves. The Rockies closed their own contention window, sure. But you're going to tell me that there are 100 players better than any member of the Colorado Rockies? That's BS. It's ridiculous. I'm not claiming any Rockies player cracks even the top 50. But, one of the biggest free agents, one of the most talked about, one of the most profiled, one of the biggest names in the offseason last year, signs with the Rockies, has an injury-riddled season, doesn't get to perform, and he's completely wrote off. Joel DeGrace in the live chat makes a good point. Brendan Rodgers, who's him? Now, if the specification in the list is just, and I wanted to read that, and maybe I missed it. That might have changed. Because I think if Brendan Rodgers is healthy and this list comes out, it's even more insulting. Maybe the list is with Rodgers being removed, maybe due to the shoulder injury, because the list is the top 10 player or the top 100 players for 2023. So, that could be a factor for the Brendan Rodgers erasure. But you're going to tell me that Ryan McMahon isn't a candidate, and that Chris Bryant isn't a candidate, that CJ Cron isn't a candidate, that Kyle Freeland, German Marquez aren't candidates. Again, I am not sitting here to tell you that these players are top 50. Except I do believe Brendan Rodgers is a top 5 at minimum second baseman in the entire league. But these people, I just don't know how you can be so excited about Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant, Chris Bryant, Chris Bryant, Chris Bryant. There's so much Chris Bryant talk. And then he signs with the Rockies, and it's poof. Yes, I know he didn't play. That's the biggest reason. But why is there nothing at all? Why is no one in the national media, why is no one outside of Colorado talking about Chris Bryant? It doesn't make any sense. The guy was an MVP. The guy played in the World Series. Oh, what's the thing? He doesn't play for the Cubs anymore. Oh, he's not a California team. Oh, that makes sense. Chris Bryant's not a top 100 player in the game? That's ridiculous. You don't earn the contract. You don't get the deal. You don't get the coverage. You don't win the accolades. You don't do what Chris Bryant has done in his career and have one injury season knock you out, and you're considered nothing. Let me give you some examples. There are examples of players that they listed, and then I want to go and read you the description of what they say about these players, and I just don't have any clue why Chris Bryant doesn't fall into the same category. There are, like, the hardest part about stuff like this and getting so fired up about it is it's like you read that these people, they know more baseball than me. I'm going to come 110% clean with y'all. If you cover baseball for ESPN, if you cover it for Fox Sports, if you cover it for CBS, if you cover it for any MLB, any of them, even our friends at Purple Row, you know baseball better than me. I'm coming fully clean here about it. But when there are just laughable exclusions of the Rockies, there's just laughable things about the Rockies that people think or the perceptions that just make it like, hello, the Rockies do exist. And another thing that I will get to here on this list, there are players on bad teams on this list. Why are the Rockies the exception? It doesn't make any sense when you have a former MVP in your outfield. When you have a player that was a runner-up for the Gold Glove at third base. Let's get into some specific examples here from the list and compare some stats and such here as well. Coming up in segment number 2, we'll also take a look at the live chat as well, where you can drop your questions and comments about the Rockies in live time here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. All right. Speaking of live time, you got to check out Game Time. Game Time, folks. It's going to change the way that you get tickets. And I mean, oh my goodness, who likes buying? No one enjoys the ticket buying process anymore. It's honestly a nightmare. It's a hassle. It's a headache. You never know. They go on sale. They're blah, blah. It's you don't know when it's going to happen. But or say you want to get something spur of the moment, especially something like sports tickets. Well, Game Time is going to help you out. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. You get killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing out over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you will have. They have flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find, and you can buy tickets for every kind of event. Like I said, sports, music, comedy, they got it all, and you can even see the images of the seats before you buy. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. I'm emphasizing that because it's a way, especially with sports, when you're looking for a day to go to the ballpark, Game Time's going to help you out. And the Game Time guarantee means you're getting the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. That's $20 off your first purchase when you download the Game Time app and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Terms do apply. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where we are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Proud to be your first listen of the day. Thank you so much for that, folks. I really, really appreciate it. We are talking about ESPN's top 100 players list and how there's not a single member of the Colorado Rockies on there. And I got a couple examples of some players that I want to talk about and compare. But before we do that, let's take a look at the live chat here. Luxay says Rymack will definitely win a Gold Glove. If he plays great defense at second, and Brendan Rodgers did it, there's no reason why he can't. Joel DeGray says listening to the WBC announcers talk about Coors Field when Kyle was pitching was brutal. The bias against the Rockies is real, y'all. Well, I mean, it's every single national person covering the Colorado Rockies is contractually obligated to spend most of the time of the broadcast not talking about the players or anything about the team, but talking about altitude in Coors Field. I'm pretty positive it's written in every single contract of any announcer to talk about Coors Field. How did you know? Hey, stop me if you heard this one before. Hey, this Rockies team, when you come in here, they're going to slug it, They're going to be a team that really swings it. You're coming to Coors Field, and you're going to have to hang it. You're going to have to run around. You're going to have to stick with this team because anything can happen at a Coors Field game. Coors Field, did you know that we're playing a game at Coors Field? Did you know the Rockies play at Coors Field? Because that's about the only thing I know about the Rockies is that they play at Coors Field. It's pretty crazy. They play at this place. It's high in the air. The ball flies all over the place. This is really good analysis. This is really in-depth. It's really good. You're definitely following the team. Doesn't help that the Rockies don't always play very well on the national stage, but see, we're realistic around here. I know where the Rockies are at, but I also know what the Rockies are capable of. And it's just I just cannot believe the Rockies are looked at to be a worse team this year than last year, and that they have less talent this year than they did last year. Here's an example. Luis Robert Jr. for the White Sox finished last year the 2.1 WAR, 108 hits and 380 at bats, 12 home runs, 284 batting average, 54 runs scored, 56 RBIs, and 11 stolen bases. And his line, 319, 426, 746. Of course, that's from our friends at Baseball Reference. So what? That's what gets you that makes you top 100? That line? Perhaps the most talented player to be this low on the top 100, Robert simply has yet to put it all together in the big league. So a guy that is yet to put it all together in the big leagues is a top 100 player. Got it. Makes sense. Robert's injuries have stopped him in his tracks. He's played the equivalent of one season over the last two. So it's not a big deal for Luis Robert Jr., but that's a downside to Chris Bryant. Got it. Okay. He just hasn't been impactful in any meaningful way, but few can deny his talent. What is that? How can you open up a top 100 players in baseball, and I'm sure Luis Robert Jr. is going to be fine and have a good season? It's really not about it. What is that? You list 3 excuses for a person that you list in the top 100 players in the entire league. You omit an entire team to go out and say that this person is better? No, he has not proved it. You cannot sit here and say, sure, there's a talent. Oh my goodness. But that's the analysis, and you're going to say that he's one of the best? He's the most talented player to be this low. Well, he's got to stay on the field. Why is that a knock against, in the national eye, If Chris Bryant's health gets knocked, why is Luis Robert Jr. not being knocked for the health? That makes absolutely no sense. I'm not debating the talent level of him. It can be high, but if your analysis is just that doesn't make any sense to omit Chris freaking Bryant, an MVP who signed to hit in a hitter-friendly ballpark that can play that plays at a high level. Luis Robert has to do it. Chris Bryant has done it. There's the proof. There's the pudding. You just got to look at it. But instead, it's Colorado. I don't know if that's the only thing. It might be. It's just the Rockies. They're supposed to be worse than the A's this year. Worse than the Tigers. Corey Seager's listed on here. Corey Seager still has to bounce back. I just don't think that we can sit here and say that Corey Seager is a guaranteed slam dunk still. I'm not going to sit here and believe that Corey Seager is better than every single player on the Colorado Rockies. I don't believe it. I really don't. And I mean, he's got potential, but it's just like there's 4 Orioles on this list. There's Pirates on this list. There's Royals on this list. What are we doing? Ketel Marte was a 1.5 WAR last year with 12 home runs, batted .240 with 52 RBIs, batted .321, 407, 727. That's better than every Rockies player? That's better? Certainly not better than Brendan Rodgers. Let's see Ryan McMahon here as well. Because Rodgers is out. It's not better than Ryan McMahon. Crazy. Ryan McMahon, a higher WAR than Luis Robert last year. That's interesting. A little behind Corey Seager, though. But double the production of in terms of wins above replacement of Ketel Marte. Hit 8 more home runs than Ketel Marte. Drove in 15 more runs than Ketel Marte. And had a similar line, a batting line. So why is a Gold Glove runner-up not a top 100 player in baseball? And you want to know how they go with Ketel Marte's description here on the list? One more season like 2022, and Marte will find himself outside the top 100. His OBP dipped to 321 last year, his lowest since 2016. He struck out over 100 times for the first time in his career, and his defense declined. A hamstring injury may have contributed to his struggles, but he was scuffling before he got hurt. The Diamondbacks are counting on Marte to lead their team to the postseason contention, and while some of his underlying numbers are worrisome, he remains a candidate for a rebound season. How does that make sense to say, yeah, that description does not deserve? How do you have one of your worst season and then are listed as one of the top 100 players in the game? It doesn't make any sense. They clearly look. I don't even know if they either didn't look at the Rockies, they didn't focus on the Rockies, they didn't care. And yes, I'm out here fighting for a Rockies player to make 96th on this ESPN Top 100 rank. It's a little ridiculous, sure, but you're going to tell me that I don't buy it. And B-Man Attacks is not a Rocks fan here, checking out the show, though, which we appreciate, and we always love this. Not trying to hate, but my man hasn't been better than Ketel Marte consistently, and MLB is banking on him having a better season. But why is there more confidence in him doing that after he just had his worst year? You have more faith in Ketel Marte bouncing back and doing that than Chris Bryant? Ryan McMahon has been a 3 WAR player every season. Ryan McMahon has played second base before. Ryan McMahon plays elite defense at second base. And if you're not a Rocks fan, you might not have seen this. Before the Arenado trade, McMahon was the second baseman. He was. I mean, McMahon will have no issue playing second base, none. I mean, in fact, I think if Rodgers can win a Gold Glove, I don't really have any. I don't think that it's that crazy to say that Ryan McMahon could win a Gold Glove this year. I'm just saying. My thing is, and these are all, yeah, that's a good point. This is all I'm saying. This is my big point. People just don't know about the Rockies, and as much as that fires me up, as much as I and I want that, you can't blame people either. What reason are the Rockies giving these people to watch lately? But we're watching. And there's good players on the Rockies. Again, the overall team might not be great. There might be issues, especially in the front office. But to sit there and say that there's not a top 100 caliber player on the Colorado Rockies is an insult. It's an insult to the guys that are good and great on this team, which there are a handful of. And when you read some of these names, there's 3 Diamondbacks on the list. There's multiple Pirates, multiple I know the Orioles are sick and exciting and young, but like the Rockies have guys that have done it. And yes, they might have declined, but I'm telling you, I think the best bet for comeback player of the year this year is Chris Bryant. If the dude plays a full slate of games, he should be really effective. What have we learned about Chris Bryant over the years, other than the health issues that makes us worried about his performance, especially what we saw last year? The small amount of time that we did see of Chris Bryant, he did not struggle. He didn't hit home runs, sure, but he certainly was not a bad offensive threat. 160 at-bats, batted .306, scored 28 times, drove in 14, hit 5 home runs last year, and his line was 376, 475, 851 with an OPS plus of 127. And now he's gonna be playing right field instead of having to play a bunch of defense in left. It's a no-brainer. It's a slam dunk. Chris Bryant is better than some of these players on this list. And I'd say that about Ryan McMahon, too. I just don't think that Corey Seager gets more time. I mean, I know that these players have had that these guys have good seasons, and there's lots to be excited about by a lot of these guys. And again, as I started the first segment, I'm not out here advocating for the Rockies to have somebody in the top 50 players in the league. You could probably, an argument when you look at this list, it might be hard for a Rockies player to even crack the top 75. But then you read these descriptions of players, and you can just cut and paste and apply that to the Rockies. It's just a complete lack of focus or care or anything about the Rockies. And that speaks volumes, and that should raise concerns. Let's talk about that here in segment number 3 coming up next. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is the spot to be for all your sports betting action, especially right now in the primetime basketball month of March. Right now, new customers at FanDuel are going to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. You got a safe, secure app that's super easy to use. And like I said, that $1,000 back in bonus bets with that no sweat first bet when you sign up at FanDuel today. Wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team is going to be cutting down the net. Don't miss your shot at your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your streaming service of choice. We're also live on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel where Lux Ace B-Man Attacks Joel DeGrace been hanging out today. Why should we care about Rockies players not making top 100 lists? Why should we care about a lack of focus and care about the Rockies? Well, because it's obvious. If the Rockies are good, people are going to care more about them, and that means the Rockies are good and we can be more excited. There is a huge image issue with the Colorado Rockies. And it was starting to change, but the Rockies reset back to square one with the trade. This is a team that outside of Rockies fans has an incredibly negative perception. There is nothing that people look into or think about the Rockies unless if you're a diehard Rockies fan and you look at with the Rockies and with fondness or think that it's a good organization. The Rockies are considered a laughingstock of baseball. And when you're considered a laughingstock of baseball, you do not make ESPN top 100 lists. You have broadcasters and people that focus more about the anomalies and the weirdness of your stadium than the quality of play and the players on the field. You deal with people, you have away crowds dominate your home stadium because there's more people that are passionate and cared about their teams or a future and path that also happen to live in Colorado more than people that care about the Rockies. More people tease and insult and don't know crap about the Rockies than legitimately follow it, I think. I might just be guessing out there, and I'm not trying to dunk on and say there's not a lot of Rockies fans out there, but like this, it's a cycle over and over and over again, and it didn't even break when the Rockies were good. You still heard the same stuff over and over again, and this goes back to the root cause of the Rockies. This front office has done nothing to improve the image, improve the reputation of this team since trading Nolan Arenado. They haven't had to worry about dipping attendance or anything like that, but they have done nothing to really address the image of this team. They've not done a lot to actually create an image for this team outside of, we have Colorado guys and the people that I say embody Rockies baseball. I'm just saying, this should be a bigger issue, especially to the front office. I don't think the players necessarily are going to care too much. But it's not just up to the Rockies players to prove themselves because we have seen Rockies players prove themselves. This is a team that needs more from its management and front office to help its brand and identity and its reputation in the game of baseball. Yes, the players play probably the biggest role in that, sure. But it's the overall image and rep of the Rockies that ruins things like this for them, ruins their chances of recognition just because of their name is the Rockies. The name Colorado Rockies, while it brings a great sense of pride to players, and I'm sure that represent and a lot of us fans, sure, but the name Colorado Rockies doesn't instill excitement, energy, confidence. Those aren't the adjectives that go with the Rockies, especially when you talk to baseball fans or when you read stuff like these national outlets. And it's a problem. The Colorado Rockies have an image problem, and they need to fix it. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Thank you for checking us out and subscribing, especially my man B-Man Attacks here today. Not a Rockies fan, popping in the live chat. We appreciate it. Go make Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs your second listen of the day, or go win your fantasy league with the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast. Folks, until next time. This is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies live podcast. I don't know what I was doing there.